And I'm going to give you more context about why this is so important from a societal perspective. So many of you may have written, not written, read articles, maybe you wrote articles too. I don't know. Read articles about burnout when the World Health Organization published its report in 2019. I think everybody saw at least something on LinkedIn it was published everywhere. And there were three characteristics that were outlined in that report. It was exhaustion, and the kind of exhaustion that a nap or more sleep just wasn't going to help. It was a decline in professional efficacy, which just means I'm tired of trying to get better. I got no more suck it up left to give. And cynicism, where you just start to think, does any of this stuff matter? And what's fascinating to me is that report came out after I had started my work in this move from striving to thriving. And as I read this report, I was like, that's what striving is. It's that battle to always try to do better. It's the conflict of working against my human needs. And I just was fascinated with this research. Well, and it quite frankly made it easier to market my business because there was this report and this diagnosis and this thing where people read that and was like, oh, it's not just me. And the other fascinating thing when I read the report was, and if you've read my book, and I hope you are as we go through this, because it will really help put all these pieces together. The other part that was really fascinating to me was I had experienced my own burnout, and I didn't know that it had a name. So I talk about this period of time in my life where I had pneumonia for 2 months, literally couldn't leave my house except to go to doctor's appointments. And and as I read this report in 2019, I thought, well, that's what I had back in, I don't remember, 2014. Like, this isn't new. And so I really started to dig into the research on burnout. And guess what? The very first report on burnout was not in 2019. Take a little guess on what year you think it was. I'll give you a hint. I was 8 years old. It was 1974 was the first report on burnout. So as I like to say, this shit ain't new. And I was fascinated. We've been dealing with burnout since 1974, but we're just now really talking about it in 2019 in a big way. Well, the gentleman that came up with the first report, Herbert Freudenberger, a German-American psychologist, he didn't have the benefit of Google to take his report far and wide. And quite frankly, when I share this burnout study with you, the definition and the fundamental starting point of burnout sounds so much like what we were told success is. I think there were some people in business that didn't want us to know about burnout because they wanted us working harder. Just something to think about. So I'm going to share with you today the summary. I'm making a circle because it's a wheel that Herbert Freudenberger published in 1974, which is the basis of the World Health Organization's report in 2019. In fact, the World Health Organization had burnout in its documents for decades, but it just really got elevated in 2019. So there are 12 stages of burnout in this wheel. And as a good consultant, what I like to do is go to root cause. Well, if we can steer away from the first one, then we don't have to worry about the other 11. But also it's easy to break down the understanding of it into 4 parts. So the first part, the first 3 stages of burnout, this is that root cause. So the first one is a compulsion to prove oneself, an obsessive need to perform, achieve, or care. I know that hurts, doesn't it? This is like, wait, I was told that that's what I needed to do in business. I needed to go prove myself, and I do care. So I know it's just this seed that was planted that said this is success that now is hurting us. The subtext of number one of the stages of burnout is it tends to affect the conscientious people who show enthusiasm and accept responsibility. Y'all, I've taken pride in being that person, and so have you. But what they're saying is we can't do that at the expense of ourselves, the renewable energy source that is us. Because proving ourselves means that we got to please something outside of ourselves, a teacher, a boss, a coach, a parent, somewhere out there. We've got to show them that we're enough, that we're good enough. I know, right? So that leads us to the second stage of burnout, which is working harder. It's okay, I got this. I'm going to work harder. I'll stay a little late. I'll go in early. I'll make sure they know that I'm good. Which leads us to the third stage of burnout, which is now I'm willing to neglect my own needs. Poor sleep, diet, start to shut off from others. Increase of ill health may begin. So this is the start, right? And it only gets worse from here. So in the next stage, in the next 3 parts of burnout in this study, is we start to avoid problems because we just get anxiety about it and we feel threatened. It's like I have to ignore that because I just have to keep going. And then we start to say, well, I'm going to revise my values, what I care about my friends, family. We just start to separate away from the things that matter most to us. And then we just become cynical about everyone around us, our colleagues, our clients, our family, our friends. Everything just seems like a challenge. Remember, I said the word strive means battle and conflict. So all of this feels like I am in a battle. My family wants this. My boss wants this. I really want to go do this with my friends. And so you start to deny all of it. And you start to think that those people are just dumb. Like everything out there is just not worth it. And it just keeps going from there. We're going to stay here in my description of it, but I'm going to give you the descriptions of each stage and a picture of the wheel that you can download as a reminder. I want you to know these things because not only is the move from striving to thriving for you, for me, for us here in this community, but it's our ability to shift the thinking into this age of humanity that will have the biggest impact and the ripple effect in society. But we got to start somewhere. If we spend all of our time just reading studies and pointing to other things that are out there, we're just exacerbating the problem. We have everything that we need to thrive within us right now. We just have to be courageous enough to go and shift those old patterns and create new ones.